Live. Are we live? Hey, I think we're live. Oh, yes, I think we are. Okay, this is exciting. Hello, friends. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, if you can see Kyle. You can see me and not Kyle. That's an issue. Hi, Adam. It's good to see you. Also, I want to dispute some Global Hack Week history. I hear that Adam is out here saying that it was his idea to do Hack Your Coffee. I don't know if that's right, Adam. What is your memory coming from here? Okay, I am going to drop the check-in link. Welcome, welcome. I am so excited. Oh, Fancy Applebee already dropped the check-in link. Thank you so much, Fancy, as always. Always quick with those. Okay. So this actually is true. Is before we actually had a live streamed event that was Hack Your Coffee. After a stream in Discord, Adam did start an espresso hour. That is actually a true statement. April 2021. He has the date. Wow. Fancy Appleby says I dropped the wrong link in Discord. Oh, that's tragic. I'm gonna have to fix that link in Discord. I just dropped part 3. Yeah, part 3 was such a mess that I was like, gotta re-drop the part 3 link. Thank you for letting me know. I will drop the Hack Your Coffee link, and we will get that straightened out. I guess you probably found out because you couldn't actually. Boom. Because you couldn't actually check in, could you? Okay, now let's juggle back all of our original windows. Y'all know I complain about this every time we do a coffee thing, but I am so used to having 17 million monitors that you give me just one and I am lost. Welcome. My name is Will. I am a software engineer at Google, where I do cloud things and AI fairness testing. I am a coach at Major League Hacking. I am a caffeine addict, and I am a coffee enthusiast. And this is my dear good coffee friend, Kyle. Say hello, Kyle.
Hello.
You want to introduce yourself? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your deal? What's your relationship to coffee? I guess is the question I'll ask.
To coffee. That's a tough one. I mean, I drink it every morning, so I think I rely on it. I would say I'm dependent on coffee.
Nice.
And I've always loved it.
Yeah.
Lived in Washington my whole life, where coffee is very prominent. So I've been blessed to be surrounded by beans for as long as I can remember.
Hell yeah. And your work in the industry?
Yeah,
that's relevant.
That's true. It's true. I did work for Starbucks. Don't hate on me, but
this is not the point of this stream, but I want to litigate this. Starbucks does have you can step into a Starbucks and you can get access to some very good coffees, right? Not all the coffee the Starbucks sells is good, but you can walk into any Starbucks and I could get something that, at least for me, is totally serviceable, right? It's maybe not my favorite coffee in the entire world, but I don't know. I
avoid the standard espresso roast. Go for the blonde roast if you can.
That's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah, is a game changer in terms of flavor.
A long time ago, we did how do you dress up bad, quote unquote, bad coffee? And one of the biggest things we talked about is if you go to Starbucks and you are not getting the blonde roast, what are you doing?
It's true. Yeah, absolutely.
But hashtag ad, Starbucks sponsor us. Come on. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Although, if there could be actually this, so Major League Hacking has a long history of having sponsorships with caffeine suppliers, right? We had the big Awake chocolate. We did Forte, the little coffee shots. So Starbucks, it's your turn. Get in line. Okay, so let me know in the chat what you are drinking right now. Hopefully it's coffee. And I'll set the stage for what we're doing today. Also, of course, let me know if the audio is getting weird, if video quality is getting weird. Half the time, I will not actually be able to do anything about it, but it's still nice to know. So today, Dimmer says bring Forte. Oh, Forte brings me back. At first, I thought you were saying bring Forte back, but that is not what you're saying. I'm going to say no comment on the Forte shots because I don't know what the current relationship between Major League Hacking and Forte is. Fancy Applebee made their own French press. Polar Void made some chicken nuggets, which, contrary to popular belief, is not actually coffee. But what are we doing here today? Okay, so coffee is great, right? Coffee is delicious, but a lot of things go into making coffee happen, right? And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what are all the factors that go into affecting how your coffee tastes. And then we're going to talk about how this actually intersects with a classic machine learning problem. And then Kyle is going to be put under the microscope, and we are going to be doing some testing on Kyle, who has agreed to be the test subject for this whole project. So without further ado, let's see if we can punch in. Boom! Hack your coffee. Okay. Oh, let's not. Okay. Up here, let's get rid of the comment. Adam wants to know what's my McDonald's milkshake of choice. I will say I don't really dig McDonald's milkshakes, although I do like an Oreo McFlurry.
Good choice.
Yeah. Did you have any McFlurries before you went vegan?
You know, I don't think I did.
Yeah.
So-
you're just being generically supportive. I appreciate that.
I mean, their ice cream is great.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's fair. That's
close enough, right?
The McDonald's
That
vanilla
has
ice
to go
cream
into it, right?
does kind of slap.
That's my guess.
I assume. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's stop talking about what goes into a McDonald's milkshake and let's start talking. Great segue. Let's start talking about what goes into a cup of coffee. So we've talked about this before in Hack Your Coffee events past, but the big things that go into affect what your coffee tastes like. Actually, let's see, Kyle, can you guess any of the ones that I have on my list? Kyle hasn't seen this list.
Oh gosh. Guessing like roasts or guessing locations? What are we doing? Single origin?
So there are 4 parts in the coffee life cycle that all contribute something to the cup of coffee.
Oh, okay.
So you guess one of them. Roast is on the list.
Right. Time. Like from roast to
That is not on the list.
not on the list. Okay. Gotcha. Because I was like, you're having 3-month-old beans.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna be the same experience. But okay, roast.
Uh-huh.
Temperature. A brew temperature.
Okay, yeah. So brewing is I've put as like one giant.
Oh,
okay,
oh
I
God.
won't make you
I'm a little bit
struggle
confused
anymore.
here. What
No,
are we-
that's
okay,
that's
yeah,
totally
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Oh
I'll
my
let you-
goodness, Samrid, a real one, coming back for a coffee live stream. So good to see you. It's been a hot minute. Okay, so the 4 things that the big categories that contribute sort of flavor to the coffee, and there are other things, but these are broad categories, are the origin, the processing, the roasting, and the brewing. So sort of in chronological order, all these things are going to happen to your coffee before you drink it. And the first one is it's going to get grown, right? So a coffee plant, it's kind of a shrub, is a plant that you grow, and you get these little fruits off of it, right? That give you the coffee bean. And that needs to be grown somewhere, and where it is grown is known as the origin. We often think about both where and how it's grown. There are lots of factors of how much water are you giving it and how are you harvesting it that contribute. But our sort of metric for this is what continent does it come from. I have all the information on like what country and what region, but we're not going to deal with that because it gets to be too much. Processing is honestly, I think, the most underrated factor that makes your coffee taste a certain way.
Right.
And this is how the coffee is washed and dried to get it ready for shipping. This can involve when it's decaffeinated, so you can pull caffeine out of the coffee bean. But all of these things, they sort of get the bean from being on the coffee shrub to in a sack ready to ship to a roaster, right? And so the big ones here are if the coffee is what we call a washed coffee, then that is often going to have like a really clean and pure taste. If it is a natural coffee, this is often going to be one that tastes a little bit muskier or a little bit like funkier. Sometimes people will even say it tastes like a little bit boozy, but often really, really sweet. I'll throw those in there. We have the processing, we have washed, and we have natural. And under origin, our 3 big continental areas are going to be the Americas, Africa, and Asia. So then that brings us to our 3rd thing that sort of goes into making a cup of coffee, which is the roasting. And this is, of course, just like how long and how much temperature you apply to the beans. You probably, if you know anything about like different kinds of coffee, you probably know that, really darkly roasted coffee tastes really woody and bitter. And really lightly roasted coffee can taste fruity or floral or sometimes even a little bit sour or vegetal. I don't know. Do you have any notes on roasting?
On roasting, oh, that's a tough one. I mean, it depends on the origin for me, usually, I guess.
Okay.
So,
A
like,
connoisseur.
I mean, we're going to see what happens today because I don't know what we're tasting or what we've tasted in the past. So I might have like a wake-up call to what I actually like.
I say, yeah, it's going to be exciting because I now have so much data on this man's coffee preferences. So at the end, we're going to go through them and it's going to be therapy. I'll be like, so Kyle, tell me, what does this say about you?
I'm sure
You
I'll
know?
be shocked. But to my knowledge right now, I like a medium roast typically. I
Okay.
don't like things that are too fruity or citrusy. I mean, I think those are really cool notes, and it's amazing that we get to be able to taste that.
Yeah,
The light
for
roast,
sure,
like,
for
that's
sure.
phenomenal, right?
Right.
But my personal preference,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that in my
I
coffee.
think this is super fair that that like really lightly roasted coffees are always interesting, and
Yes.
sometimes they're not everybody's favorite, but they're always interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I love to take a sip.
Yeah,
They're great. It's
sure,
like, wow,
sure.
that's so cool that it tastes like lemon, but I also don't want lemon in the morning.
Okay, fair enough, fair
So-
enough. Let's see. Polar Void is drinking. Wait, no, who's drinking a Nicaraguan? Oh yes, Polar Void is
Ooh.
drinking a Nicaraguan and a South Indian blend, which is super interesting. I have not tasted that much Indian coffee, but the one that I did taste was actually really good. It's kind of a little bit wacky, but I am into it. Hey Sandra, welcome to the stream. We need a Will and Friends movie. That's like I'm trying to bring more people onto stream for coffee things. So yeah, we'll pull in all the friends. Cool. So roasting, we talked about roasting, and finally we have brewing. So this is where you actually take a roasted bean and you grind it up and you brew a cup of coffee, right? And there are lots of different methods. You can make espresso, you can make French press, you can make pour over, you can make Turkish. What we're doing right here, and we can actually punch in here, is called a clever dripper. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So right here, this is a clever dripper, and it's one of my favorite ways of making coffee because it's kind of a cross between a French press and a pour over because you have that filter. So we're gonna pour water on top of this filter. You can kind of see it there, and it's gonna sit there. And then when we put it over a cup, it's all gonna drain out. And so we'll let you watch that process. In fact, I think it probably is time to actually get our coffee brewing, and it can brew while we talk about machine learning. Or I guess at very least, I will actually get the coffee or the water to boil. That may be step one. Okay, our coffee is boiling. Incredible. So what does this have to do with machine learning? So if you've attended any machine learning sessions today, this is also a fun fact. So Kyle is not a programmer per se, but you do have an interest in machine learning, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
you are kind of the audience surrogate here. So the if I say supervised learning, does that mean anything to you, Kyle?
No.
Okay. Let us know in the chat what supervised learning is.
So.
No, that's totally okay. It's totally okay. I told Kyle you don't need to know anything about technology or machine learning to come in here. So the machine learning in general is just anytime our computer gets better when we give it more data, right? Supervised learning is this version of machine learning where you have basically a bunch of example inputs and you have them labeled, right? So there's some kind of label that we're trying to predict based on some kind of input data. So you might have a bunch of details about a house and you might try to predict what that house is going to sell for, right? But with coffee, the thing that we can do is we can say, well, all of these factors that go in to brewing a good cup of coffee are our input data, and our output variable is how well we like it, right? So what I did, I didn't mention this, but a week ago, Kyle came and I made this man drink like 16 different cups of coffee or something like that. And I made him totally blind, and I made him tell me how much he liked each of them on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So I went and I collected a lot of data on what kinds of coffee Kyle likes based on all of these input variables of origin, processing, roasting, and brewing. Will and friends do legal drugs. Very true. Very true.
I don't think you partook in any of it actually.
Of the coffee.
I was just super caffeinated.
That's true. Actually, I made Kyle.
give me
Yeah,
more.
I made Kyle drink all of it. Yeah. Only a taste, but we're back at it.
Yeah.
Coffee powered computers. I actually really like the idea of like instead of water cooling, just have coffee running through your little pump. I dig it. Okay, Sarah, yes, basically this is a great, thank you for actually answering my question of what is supervised learning. You're trying to telling examples of right answers, and it's trying to guess them. So what I did was collected a lot of data on Kyle's coffee preferences. Let's go into punch-in mode. Cool. Yeah. So what does this have to do with machine learning? Well, we have these input values and we're trying to predict these output values. So what we're going to do now live on stream is build a model to predict how well Kyle will like a cup of coffee. So let's get to it, I guess. Alrighty. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Incredible.
Can I grab the fellow over here. Bring it to the table for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Actually,
Okay.
good. Great. Yeah. Let's do that and let's kick it off. In fact, actually, let's go back to our close up.
Oh yeah.
So what we're doing here is we have a different amount of of coffee in each of these, and a different origin and a different roast and all those things. And so I'm going to put 180 grams of water into each of these.
Beautiful pour.
Oh, thank you.
Look at that bloom.
I feel like my hand is shaking as we're on stream. I'm like, this is, if it doesn't taste good, you can just blame the pour methodology.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, we're close enough to 184 or to 180. Now we'll move along. I guess we'll shuffle it so you can still see all of the pours, and you can judge me. And everybody, cover your robot's ears because I'm about to talk to it. Hey Google, set a timer for 4 minutes.
4 minutes, starting now.
Ooh, okay. I don't want to get into it, y'all. Like, not a great time. But Google's kind of having some moments recently with picking examples of its machine learning algorithms. We were just talking about that before we went on stream.
Yeah.
Not the subject of this stream. So don't at me.
That's fair. We get any measurements? I think you hit.
Oh no.
Well, your eyeballs work. It's all good.
Wait, is this?
Oh, there you go. Now we're back.
Okay, cool. That was spooky.
I was like, oh gosh.
All right, so we're just giving all of these 180 grams, and we're gonna let them coast for 4 minutes.
Nice.
Sweet. And get rid of this guy.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
And while that's brewing, we are going to build a machine learning model. And Kyle, you can follow along, and you can.
I'm so excited.
If you have questions, you can ask them. And if other people have questions
I'll try to look
online,
at the chat as well to make sure that I'm
seeing
what's coming through while you're building this out.
Fancy Appleby said, "Did you already water the filter?" Yes. Before you got on, we did some prep. Yes. You want me to drop I'll drop the collab at the end. Okay. I'll drop the collab at the end. Okay. So we're going to use pandas. So pandas is this Python library that lets us treat data almost like a spreadsheet inside of Python. It's really useful. And now we're going to download some data from GitHub. Oh, it says fatal because I already downloaded it. That's okay. So now we're going to use pandas read CSV to read in a comma separated variable list and give ourselves this df variable is basically our spreadsheet inside Python.
Awesome.
So in fact, we can just start by looking at, if we say df head, this will give us a little summary of all the data that I collected. So we have the continent, we have the country, we have the process, so natural, washed, or wet hold. We have the roast, light, medium, or dark. We have whether or not this coffee was decaf. Then these 3 columns are all kind of connected. So when we talk about brewing, we're brewing them all the same, but what I changed was the ratio of water to coffee. So in this scenario, all of them had 15 grams of coffee, but I changed the amount of water that I added. And so this gave us a brew ratio. So people will often talk about a 1:16 or 16:1 brew ratio. That means that if you have 10 grams of coffee, then you would do 160 grams of water. And 16 is often said to be a pretty common brew ratio. And the final column that we have is this Kyle's rating 1 to 10. So this is a 1 to 10 number that you said. You said, I give this coffee an 8 or whatever, right?
Nice.
Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Incredible.
I guess you
were there
from this model.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Multitasking for the win. That's absolutely true. Yes. Fancy Appleby asks, is espresso coffee? Absolutely. I think espresso is in many ways the highest form of coffee. I love espresso. The thing I will say is espresso is one of my favorite ways to drink coffee. It is not, I think, the easiest way to study coffee, which I think, because espresso is so strong, so often you're just going to get smacked in the face with like, this tastes like coffee. And for me, doing something like a pour over or a clever dripper, it kind of gives you a little bit of space to like look at the coffee more and not just kind of get slapped in the face with it. That is my opinion.
Absolutely.
Oh, spectrometer. We could. So I do have a refractometer that helps you measure the strength of the coffee. We could do this if we have time. I guess we have 40 minutes.
Yeah.
We're making good progress. Okay, so we have our coffee. Now, what I'm going to do here is we're just going to rename Kyle's rating 1 to 10 just to rating, just for simplicity. And then we're going to drop some of our columns. So we're going to drop coffee, water. Oh, hey, Google, thank you. So now I'm going to take, and actually we can jump back to our close-up.
Awesome.
So when I press this down, it opens up this valve and lets all the coffee stream out. So you should be able to see the coffee streaming out there now. So we move this back a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And we will, yeah.
Nice.
We will let all of these stream out. And they should be ready for human consumption.
Perfect.
Great. Okay. Let's jump back. So we're doing a little bit of pre-processing here. You know, this is not necessarily a like rigorous machine learning stream, so we're going to skip over some of this. If you came to my last stream 2 days ago, we would have talked about one-hot encoding, and we're going to do that here. It's just a way of basically using categorical variables as numbers. So it turns all of our categorical variables into ones and zeros, which is super useful. So our 4 variables going in there, or 5 variables going in are continent, process, roast, whether or not it's decaf, and what the ratio was. And we're going to try to predict our rating. So we can now actually train our model and run it. And what we can do is actually, I will say, let's actually do df y predicted equals, or I'll say model rating prediction equals the prediction of our model. And so now I'll actually we can look at our model again to see this new column. So we now have all of the inputs and the rating and our prediction. And so you can see like on this first one, Kyle said a 7 and our model predicted 7.1, right? And then on the second one, he said a 4 and our model predicted 6.1. So like that one, it was a little bit further off. But something that we can actually calculate is, instead of just looking at these one by one, is we can calculate the average error. So on average, how far off was our model's predictions? And if we run that, it says 0.67. So on average, if you rated it a 5, it might have rated it a 5.6 or something like that.
Right. Okay.
So our model is actually not bad, at least on data that it's already seen. Let's see, what's the GitHub link? I will also share the GitHub link at the end. Let's see, Polar Void said, you got mine to work too. Wait, what did I get to work? Tell me more. Oh, my mate Scully. I'm so glad that you're interested in watching from the beginning. No, nothing you have to download. Oh, Fancy Applebee did drop the GitHub, which is great. And also I can share this collab at the end as well. Awesome. Polar Void hopefully will tell me what I got to work. Okay, so what we have is our model has been built, but as you know, we want to test our model. Maybe not you, I don't know. Well, actually, here's a question. What is one problem about judging our model based on the training data?
Ooh.
Do you have any guess?
I'm guessing like the variables of just taste being a Y
Okay, so
variable, different times of day, different.
So this is true. This is true. Our data set has some sort of baked in variability. Like you might have tasted the same coffee twice and given a different number, right?
Gotcha.
So that's totally fair.
Yeah.
The other thing that I will throw out is in machine learning, when you have a training data set, it's almost like a teacher gives a student a study guide. And that student can look at the study guide, right?
Yeah. Right.
And what we just did by testing it on our training data is basically giving the student the study guide and then the test being those exact same answers.
Gotcha.
And so what the model can sometimes do, it's called overfitting, where it almost sort of memorizes the answers and it doesn't actually learn. And so whenever you want to evaluate your model, you want to test it on data that your model hasn't seen yet.
Right. That way it creates an accurate prediction.
Yeah, and specifically, you know if it's generalized is kind of the idea. Does it just know this specific data, or does it know about the underlying? Like, does it understand the underlying thing? Right.
Gotcha.
Has it just memorized some things you said, or does it know what kind of coffee you like? It's kind of the way of phrasing it. Let's see. Will doesn't trust Kyle's coffee rating skills. Okay, this is not true. Actually, we'll get into at the end. We'll get into this. But I actually have very positive things to say about Kyle's coffee rating skills.
I don't trust my own coffee rating skills.
Okay, so we're gonna get rid of these. But for everyone playing along at home, our coffees are 1, 2, and 3. And before anybody sees them, well, these are actually our testing coffees. Before anybody sees them, we're actually going to have Kyle taste all of them and give us some scores. All right, are you ready?
I'm so excited.
Incredible.
Yes, absolutely. Let's pop this open.
Yeah.
Cleansing palettes in between.
Cleansing palettes is so important. I'm so thirsty, actually.
Oh, amazing. There we go.
Which I guess at this moment, we can hop back to, boom, we're big.
There we go.
All right, you have your tasting spoon.
I have my tasting spoon. Can I just go for it? Or should I use the
Oh,
taste
you
tester?
can. You
Too
can.
formal? Okay.
No, follow
Too
your
formal.
heart.
Let me smell it first.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice. It smells great.
Mm.
Okay. Tasting same time.
Mm.
Okay, it's nice and strong
Mhm.
in this first one.
Mhm.
It's not very fruity. It's not super bitter either.
Okay.
Kind of in between. It's more bitter than some cups of coffee, but we'll see
Okay.
as we scale it to the other ones.
Yeah.
So.
I say it's so when we actually did this original testing, I gave Kyle 3 at a time, and he got to look at all 3 of them because it's so hard to judge how well you like something you don't have
Yeah.
anything to compare it to.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So I'll record sample number 1, sample number
Okay.
2.
Can I
Sample number
judge something based off of the looks here? So initially, this looks much lighter than the last one.
Mm. Okay,
In
that's
terms of
interesting.
just, like,
That's
density.
interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if we can show the small camera, but
Sure, we can
Let's
hop
see.
over. We can hop over to the close
hop
up.
over there. See, there's that, and we'll look at. This was number 1.
Also, don't think about it too much. Just
Okay.
just taste.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
taste.
No, don't worry, don't worry. Just like first impression.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
No, it's hard not to look at the coffee. That's
It
fair.
is. It's
That's
so
fair.
hard not to look at it, you know. Okay.
Mm.
Also smells phenomenal. Very smooth and sweet smelling.
Okay.
We'll see how it
Okay.
tastes though.
Nice.
Because the smell can be deceiving.
That's
so
true.
We'll see.
What are your tasting notes?
Let me get one more taste here. It's much lighter than the last one. In
Okay.
terms of just like boldness,
Yeah.
I want to say the brew strength is probably less on this one, but I do not know.
Okay. Okay.
It's very nice. It's a little bit more citrusy, but not a ton. It's not like in your face citrus. Oh, I'm so sorry.
little bit of
I
citrus.
should have muted everything before.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
gosh.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick you off stream, Kyle. You can't have a
Fall
life
over.
while you're on stream. Come
Absolutely
on.
not. Yeah, no way. Yeah, I think it's not as bitter as the last one. It's
Okay.
a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
The finish is very mild.
Okay.
It's
This man's using
giving-
words like finish.
It is.
He knows what
giving
he's talking
me
about.
Some like saltine cracker at the end. If that's like a good
Saltine
descriptor.
cracker. Great.
Yeah.
Great tasting note. Also, yes, Polar Void. I use Teleparty. I have a long distance relationship. It's a requirement. All right,
Okay.
coffee number 3.
This one smells very sweet.
Okay.
Also doesn't smell super strong.
Okay.
Light color, but
Mhm.
not like a huge difference from the last one. I'm like showing the small camera, and it's not even.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
true.
that's
I
okay.
can. We
Sorry.
can.
No, no,
I'll
no.
for
We don't
you,
need to
friend.
cut to
For
that.
you, friend. Show him.
Oh, look at the spillage. here.
Okay, y'all.
Okay, there's this.
Let us know. Does it look different to you?
Yeah, to me, it looks pretty similar. So we'll see.
Oh, you want
There's
the
the
close
other
up again?
Oh God, I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Also,
Yeah.
we
The
haven't.
comparison,
Do you
that
know?
art
Do you know
of
which ones are
comparison-
which? Have we mixed them
Yeah,
up?
yeah. We haven't
Okay.
mixed them up. Don't worry.
All right,
Keep them
good.
in there, little tags. Okay. Now for the taste. We'll see.
Oh, Fancy wants to know how a clever dripper drains. I will show you close up at the end.
I'm gonna taste these two, compare them because they're the most similar so far.
Sure. Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay, it's nice. It is more citrusy than this one. Wasn't completely sure.
Okay.
Now I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, there's a difference.
And you go back and forth.
They're very similar.
Yeah.
This one's a little bolder, just in terms of strength.
Uh huh.
This one here is just a little bit more watery
Okay.
to me.
Yeah.
But who knows? I would say preferentially,
Yeah.
I would be picking this one,
Okay.
number 2.
Okay.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's not super citrusy,
Yeah.
but it's also not so dark that it's
Yeah.
just giving bitterness.
Okay. So can we get some 1 to 10 ratings?
Yeah, absolutely. So this one, I mean, I liked it a lot. I would give this one a 6.
A 6.
Not the worst.
Okay.
It's
okay.
not an average coffee. It's
Yeah.
above average for sure.
Okay.
Delicious. Nothing too crazy. This one I would give like an 8.5.
8.5.
Really
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Smooth. And then this one I would give a 5.
A 5. Okay. So you liked it.
I liked it. Yeah. It wasn't
Okay.
bad. It was delicious, but just it was a little bit more bitter on the like initial taste, right?
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So now we are going to see. I'm trying to decide if we should see what the model predicted, or if we should unpack your tastes first.
I think you're gonna have to pick on that one.
Okay, we're gonna do coffee therapy for Kyle. So this is all based on the data that we collected before.
I'm really scared to have this intervention on camera. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm about to learn so much about myself that I didn't know. I feel like it's gonna be
That is so
jarring,
true.
to say the least.
Let's see. We should totally name this coffee connoisseuring. That's what we're doing. We're connoisseurs. I dig it. All right, so we're going to skip what our actual data was, and we're going to skip that little error there because we hate errors. And we're going to look at, let's unpack what this says about Kyle. So this is from all the data that we collected last week. We're going to look at basically the bivariate distributions of all of the things that went into this cup of coffee, right? So all of the individual variables, how did they affect how well you liked it? So the first one we'll look at is continent. So we have, it's a little bit too big. Can we zoom? No.
No.
Okay, we're gonna have to make it smaller, I guess. Let's say DPI 160 maybe. That gonna fit? Oh no. This could be tragic.
Go right to 100, I think.
Maybe if I keep zooming out, it'll work.
Oh hey.
Okay,
Hey,
okay,
there we
that's
go.
fine. That's
Beautiful.
fine. You can't read any
Yeah.
of the text, but who needs to? Okay, so this is how your rating varied based on continent. So Africa, overall, each of these dots represents one of your ratings. Overall, Africa got the lowest ratings, which often
okay.
African coffees we talk about being very fruity and very floral. And I happen to know these are not like
Yeah.
your favorite notes in coffee.
Yeah,
You
they're
don't hate them,
amazing.
but
Yeah.
they're not your bread and butter.
Probably
So this is not a surprise to me.
If I was a true coffee connoisseur, they would be made bread and butter, but they're not. to
Sure,
me.
sure.
You know,
And then
I grew
the-
up on Starbucks. What can I say?
A basic boy over here.
Basic boy. PSL.
That's so true. So then the second category, the Americas, some of them rated really, really highly. We had this one outlier that rated not great. I'm actually not sure what happened there. I think that was a very light roast, which may not have been to your taste.
Gotcha.
But and then Asia, often Asian coffees we tend to think about as being a little bit funky and often sometimes a little bit like musty, sometimes bitter as well. And those for you consistently scored kind of in the middle. So kind
Gotcha.
of they were getting sevens.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if you had much Asian coffee.
You know, I have not been tracking my origins. for
Yeah,
quite some
that's
time.
fair.
It's been a long time.
That's fair.
I wake
You're
up
not-
in the morning. I have my same brew. That's
I was
where
saying,
we're at. I think you've had me taste the most different, like origin spectrums.
I don't know if I've brought this out
So-
before on stream, but I am a crazy person that every cup of coffee I drink, I have like a. I hope we can zoom in on this.
This is amazing.
Like I keep my
Amazing.
notes on.
Oh no, we're losing.
Oh,
players.
actually,
Okay.
speaking of which, all of these are origin cards.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
So yeah, I'm kind of a strange man. Okay, so continents. We can look at based on process. This was actually one of the more interesting ones to me. So we know natural processes can be really sweet, but often a little bit funky and even boozy. And those for you were kind of in the middle of the pack. Also, wet hold is a very, very funky sort of thing. Also in the middle of the pack.
Oh,
A
gotcha.
washed process, we kind of almost split the pack, and some of the washed processes were great and some of them were really bad. And the thing that I would kind of derive from this is that when you do a washed process, your coffee is really going to taste like the origin, right? So when you do other processing like a natural process or like wet hold, like you kind of just add some different, you're gonna layer on funkiness and fruitiness and things. But when you wash it, like really the origin really shines through. And so what I believe is these ones at the top were all American coffees, and these ones at the bottom were all African coffees. And so I think that probably when it was a wash process, it's like, oh, that origin just has that much more impact on you.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
We had based on a roast. So interestingly, maybe this is what you would have predicted, but dark roasts were pretty low for you.
Right.
Light roasts were in the middle. And it looks like on average, your favorite roasts were medium, which I guess you said,
Yeah.
medium roasts.
I
are
guess
kind
I'm surprised
of,
it's this outlier though, like at a 4.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Mhm. We could dig into that. I believe that was also an African coffee, but we got that.
Gotcha.
And then okay, this is to me the craziest slide or the craziest. We go back. This is nuts, y'all. Like, grab your butts because we're about to see something very, very interesting. So this was how well you liked coffees based on whether or not they were decaf, and there weren't that many decaf coffees
Really?
in the
Okay.
data set,
Gotcha.
but you love decaf coffees. You love the taste of decaf coffee.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
wild.
So like no, it wasn't
Okay.
your favorite ever was not necessarily decaf, but
Right.
all of the decaf coffees you really, really liked.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is
That's
interesting
bizarre.
because a lot of people think decaf coffee does not taste that great. But I think there are two things that I would throw out. One is when you remove the caffeine itself is actually really, really bitter. And so my sense is you don't like bitterness.
It's true.
And so if there's no caffeine, it is certainly less bitter. The other thing is I've often noticed that that decaf coffees will have a little bit of like a wheat bread note. And as I understand, you actually really do like wheat bread, right?
Saltines for the win. You know, this is phenomenal. I had no idea that I would have loved decaf coffee so much more.
Yeah, so that I think
Pretty
is like to me
cool.
the biggest reveal is that you're a decaf coffee stan.
Secretly.
Okay,
Pulled me
this
out of
one
the closet
is
just to show me that I love decaf coffee.
it's a true statement. It's a true statement. Okay, so the final graph we have is your favorite ratio or how you liked it based on ratio. And here I think is actually, this is probably the second most interesting one, is that at least in our data set, you really prefer a weaker ratio.
Oh,
When we had the coffee really concentrated at a 1 to 12, you rated pretty consistently lower scores.
Right.
We went up to 1 to 16. Basically, all of them moved up a little bit.
Gotcha.
And then when we tried 1 to 20, you had some pretty high scores. Your highest score, your 10 that you gave was a 1 to 20 ratio. So
Interesting.
so yeah, it sounds
I like
like
a milky latte. So this does
sure you want some
track
dilution
for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You,
absolutely.
you don't want your coffee to slap you in the face, I guess.
I guess not. Yeah.
Mm.
That's crazy.
Okay, so we
This
built.
is an intervention.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this man likes watery decaf. That's what he likes.
Every coffee connoisseur is like shaming in the background.
Okay, but no, this is the beautiful thing is that this data is specific to Kyle, and so we're building this model that is really specific to Kyle, right? Not every person is going to say, "Oh yeah, the best coffee out there is a watery decaf." And so if I was trying to recommend some coffee to Kyle, I would recommend poorly, right? We're kind of building a recommender system here. And hopefully our model will do a better job than I would, because I would say what you really want is like a strongly brewed, lightly roasted Ethiopian. That's what I like, but that's not going to generalize to Kyle's tastes, of course.
Sure.
So without further ado, we have your ratings on these coffees.
Okay.
I will tell you what they were. So the first coffee, number 1, that you gave a 5, was a dark washed. It was actually a Rwandan coffee.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it was not decaf. It was brewed at a ratio of 1 to 8. So it was darkly roasted and super strong.
That makes sense.
And you gave it a 5. The second coffee was an American coffee. It was Colombian, actually. It was washed.
Right.
The roast was medium. It was not decaf. And we did a ratio of 1 to 16.
There we go.
So you were a fan. And the last one was a Costa Rican light roast. It was washed. And it was decaf. And that we brewed in a ratio of 1 to 20. So you were spot on that this one was a little bit weaker than the other one.
Gotcha.
So we can generate this data, put that in our little table. We can create our, let's see. Oh, here's what we got to do. We got to rerun actually some of this. This should work. Oh no, we're getting unknown. Oh, did I just misspell America? Americas, isn't it? It's Americas. Yeah, pluralize that. Cool. And now we will make some predictions. Okay, so our coffee predicted, and this is what I predicted too, actually, was that based on the data, we know that you like lighter coffees and you like decaf coffees. And so the model predicted that this light washed decaf coffee brewed at a weak ratio, that you were going to give it a 9. You ended up giving it a 6.
Oh no.
Yeah. This middle one, this, like kind of in the middle, it's a little bit stronger. It wasn't decaf. So we kind of, the model predicted that you would give it a 6 and you gave it an 8.5. And then finally, and then finally, this coffee that is, this coffee I picked to be all the things that you dislike. So it is, it is an Ethiopian, it is washed, it is dark, it is darkly roasted, it is not decaf, and it's brewed really strongly. And you gave it a 5, which kind of surprised me. And it predicted that you would give it a 0.5.
Whoa, that's really low. Did I give any of the coffees a 0.5?
Well, you did give some of them a 3.
Okay.
Yeah, which
Okay.
I think this
Yeah.
is it's like this coffee was like specially engineered to try to be the worst coffee for you. And so it's like, oh, well, this
Gotcha.
is even worse than the worst thing that you saw in your data
So
set.
it would have been a strong light roast.
Yeah.
A really strong light roast. That would have been the one.
So we can actually calculate our mean error here if we want to, and see what we're looking like. So we have, I mean, we can just do this kind of manually. We have what is 5. So our 3 errors are going to be 5 minus 0.5. And then we have what, 8.5. I'll just do some rounding, minus 6. And then our last one is going to be 9 minus 6. Our model got those 2 flipped. And so if we do NP mean of these 3 absolute errors, oh, we got to import NumPy. We get an error of 3.3 repeating. So this is actually, hey, I'm not throwing shade. I'm just spitting facts. Polar Void. So I think the big moral of the story here, besides, I guess, two morals of the story. One of them is taste can be fickle, and your taste can change over time. And not every day you'll rate all the things the same.
Right.
So if we were trying to be more rigorous, I would have collected data from Kyle at on several different days at different times of day, maybe.
Right.
The other thing is that you really, really can't rely on your training data to be your test data, right? Because here, our training data, we said, hey, we're getting within a point of it basically all the time, right?
Right.
And then we tried some data that our model had never seen before. It scored way, way worse. On average, it was getting things wrong by 3 1/3. And so this is, I think, really, really the importance of you really need to have a separate training set and a separate training set and a testing set. Because I will never lose an opportunity to stand on my machine learning soapbox, you know.
I'm sure my taste has changed slightly.
Yeah,
since then too.
There's been a lot of taste bud
depends, you know,
turnover.
yeah.
So that is really all we had planned for today, and I guess we can punch back in, do our talking head view. I know there were a few questions. Some folks asked, how does the Clever Dripper work? Someone asked, oh, I'll share the as long as you're okay sharing your personal coffee data.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So I will copy this link and drop it in the chat. Boom. So if you want to grab this, if you want to replicate this experiment, I super encourage it. I think the thing that is cool here is that you can do this on yourself, and you can collect data on what kinds of things you like, and you can have if you want to go and buy a special bag of coffee, you can use a model that you write yourself to predict, hey, am I going to enjoy this or not, right? Obviously, you start learning about things, and you're like, oh, I realize I like, you know so much about, like, hey, I like American coffees, I like, I like medium roasts. So you already kind of have those things in your mind. But this is,
I didn't know I liked American coffees. This is news to me.
There we go.
I'm learning so much today. So now when I go to the store, I'll make sure to look for American.
Yeah,
coffees.
Kyle is to coffee what Nicki
Americans.
Minaj is to boys.
I guess
That analogy checks out. Do the math. Someone's gonna social engineer Kyle with coffee now. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. Someone's gonna call into Starbucks and be like, yes, my name is Kyle, I like medium roasts. And like, oh yeah, give this person Kyle's 401k because he's clearly Kyle. Okay, yeah, so that's really all I had. If you have any questions about what we did, or any questions about coffee in general, drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I am going to dump out one of these so I can show off the mechanism closer to the camera, because I think Samrid asked for that. And whatever Samrid asks for, I must do. Okay, so the Clever Dripper is really fun. We make sure that I don't look really, really bad.
Yeah,
I guess
I'll be checking it.
Okay, let's focus in.
Oh, hey,
this is
focused. Beautiful.
So yeah, we had really, really shallowed up the field there. This is a Clever Dripper. It looks a lot like a regular pour over. Hey, it looks a lot like a regular pour over. This is actually terrible. I'm not swatting. It looks a lot like a regular pour over, and it basically functions like one. The only difference is it has this little valve here, and so see if I can tilt it. This valve can push up, and when it's pushed up, it will let coffee flow through it. But when it's down, it actually forms a seal. You can kind of see that seal there on the bottom. And so what happens is when you're just sitting it on the counter, you can brew coffee, and it will keep all of the water inside there. But as soon as you set it on a cup, that opens and all the coffee is allowed to flow through. So it allows you to brew in functionally like 2 stages. One where you get immersion, and the second stage. You okay, friend?
Yes. I'm knocking glasses off the table.
Yeah,
So
okay.
sorry.
All good, all good.
All good. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop.
But so yeah, you get to brew in 2 phases. One where it's immersion and all that coffee is just floating around with itself, and then one where it actually filters through your coffee paper, which I think is a really fun way to brew. It's also, and this is key, really easy to be consistent, right? With a lot of other brewing methods, it can be really, really easy to basically do it differently every time, right? If you're brewing in a V60 and you're pouring over, like your pouring technique really matters, and it can change the flavor. And Clever Dripper is a really, really easy way to basically brew the same cup of coffee again and again and again, in my experience. How are we doing? Good. What happened?
Well, I have like long arms that I can't control.
That's fair. That's fair. Pour it out for the folks with long arms. It's
Gangly.
it's a rough
Dangly, dangly. It's bad.
it's a rough time. Okay. Well, I think, Cal, if you want to pop back up, we can
Yeah.
sign off, and then we can.
Wait, we have to answer.
You have
Our
questions?
opinions on frappuccinos.
Oh, okay. We got
Yeah.
questions. Incredible.
Also, I did have a sneaky.
Having a
chat.
sneaky glass.
That was when I
chat.
knocked
Yeah.
over the glass. I was like, let me see what's
Oh,
happening.
he
and I
was-
just boom.
He was so excited to see
I
your
was like,
feedback that
let's
he knocked
see.
over a cup. Okay.
Also, early 2000s commercials.
Early 2000s commercials.
Can we build a model?
Oh,
on that?
interesting.
This is
Ooh,
this is
okay.
a good suggestion.
So, okay, your take on frappuccinos?
Sugary garbage.
Sugary. Ooh, okay.
They
Okay.
don't even have shots in them, right? So there is like I'm gonna spill all of the Starbucks tea right now. Okay, so it comes. In
Oh
like
no,
a
we're never
cap.
we're never gonna be sponsored now.
We're not gonna be sponsored. I'm sorry, Starbucks. Love you. Please sponsor us. But there is like a cafe like Via packet. What is it called? Little, like the Via Starbucks
Yeah,
Via.
Via.
Yeah, Via. Is that what it is?
That's
Oh,
how I
God.
pronounced it.
Okay, well, either way, it's like that, but in large scale. So you basically open one of those, and
Oh,
you make
sure.
it concentrate, and it goes
So
into a
it's-
pump, and that is it.
Okay, so it's just like
It's
instant coffee.
It's just instant coffee, and
Okay.
it sits there like. I think it's allowed to be out for. Don't quote me on this. I think it can be out for 12 hours.
Okay, so that's
So it just gets
your
pumped
talk
in.
specifically on or on
Yes.
Starbucks frappuccinos, right?
Yes, and then
Okay.
you add a syrup to it, right?
Yeah.
And then you also add a base syrup just to make it blend, and it's just more sugar. So you're getting like 60, 70 grams of sugar.
So if
For
you
a
had to
small
give
frap.
if you had to give frappuccinos a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you get? Would you say you don't like them?
Zero.
Zero.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I've never had one while working there.
I'm gonna be the
that's probably not the right judge for it since I've never actually had one. While
I'm
working
going to be
there.
the Frappuccino defender, I guess.
Go for it. Go
So
for
I obviously am not a big drinker of Frappuccinos. I have never had a Starbucks Frappuccino. But what I will say is that there are so many things in this world that if there's a really good version of it, I'm super interested in trying it. And like, to be totally honest, I think the really good version of a Frappuccino like is an affogato, right? Where you have a nice scoop
Yes.
of vanilla ice cream and you pour a fresh shot of espresso over it and you mix it up and you eat it. And that is delicious, right? And so I'm going to say that sure, I'm sure there's a lot of bad Frappuccinos out there, but I have had some coffee and ice cream combos that I have absolutely loved. So
That sounds delicious.
that is
That
our,
also
our
sounds
breakdown.
not like a frappuccino, but
I mean,
but
you
like
can-
same thread of like delicious
I would say,
sugar creaminess together with coffee.
You have to. I suppose it depends on how specific you are about like, oh, just Starbucks brand Frappuccinos. There are a lot of icy, ice creamy
I love a
chocolate
iced
mixes, right?
Delicious.
There was. So I spent. I don't know if I mentioned this on Global Hack Week, but this past summer I was teaching at this program in Jerusalem, where it was this. Basically, we're teaching high schoolers how to code. It was very very MLHE, and they have at a lot of the coffee shops there like a blended iced coffee thing that like tastes like kind of like coffee slushy almost. That was very tasty. I was a fan. Okay. Holy crap, where you buy that camera? This is once in a while everybody asks this, or somebody asks us once in a while. This is a Sony A7C, and I really really like it. It is too expensive. Like it's not. I'm not telling anybody to go out and buy this camera, but I've been really really pleased with it, and I have gotten really good results. It is full frame. It has lots of great lenses. It's great for video. So yeah, would recommend if you're in the market for a streaming camera. This man is also a photographer. He has lots of camera opinions.
That's true.
Will should do one of those early 2000s commercials. Okay. The thing that I'm thinking of is Billy Mays. Do you remember Billy Mays?
No.
You don't remember Billy
I don't
Mays?
remember that. Sorry.
He
I
was this
know, I
man that
should-
did infomercials. He did like the OxyClean and ShamWow. And in many ways, I feel like I aspire to be Billy Mays and just talk quickly and be enthusiastic and sell. This is smart. I assume this is about the clever dripper, and I agree. Kyle breaking things in bokeh. So true. New gender just dropped. It's Kyle breaking things in bokeh. Kyle had too much coffee. That's true. I forced this man to sit through 3 cups of coffee. Granted, one of them was decaf, so you know.
It's true. And also, I had like small sips. But I did have my espresso this morning. So
That's fair. That's
that was a
fair.
while ago.
Will, have you heard of? Is this Be Real or is it Burial? I assume it's like the app Be Real, but you did not capitalize it, so I'm not certain. You have to clarify. Oh yes, yes, I've heard of Be Real. Yes, I'm not on Be Real, but I know all the youths are. Let's see. Have you seen the barista shit posting and memes Facebook group? I have not, but it sounds like the kind of thing that I would want to get involved with.
Starbucks tea. We were spilling Starbucks tea today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. This is actually a great question. I'm new here and I've just jumped in. I'd like to know what type of ML model you worked with. Yeah. So for this specific one, I didn't even really talk about it much because it wasn't, the capital P point. But we used a linear regression model. So it's a very simple model that you can, build really quickly. And sort of the most basic level, we're looking for simple relationships between these things. Although you could totally make the case that one of the limitations of a linear regression model is that it's only going to look at it's really basically going to look at variables in isolation. And it's never going to say, well, maybe you like this thing and you like this thing, but they don't go together. And linear models can't really do that. So if you tried a more complex model, a decision tree or a neural net or something, that those things maybe actually would have given us better results, which I think is a fair point. Yes, I totally go into camera geek time. Okay, yes, everybody check in. I think on that note, it is time to wrap up. If you have any questions, get them in real quick. Otherwise, I'm going to say thank you so much for being here. Kyle, thank you so much for being our guinea pig and weighing in.
Yeah.
It was a blast. Thank you for letting me probe into your inner psyche of coffee preferences. And thank you everyone else for being here, and happy hacking. And I will hopefully see most of you tomorrow as we wrap up AI ethics and we actually try to fix our loan application algorithm. So we'll see you there. Oh, we have a question. Do I watch CoffeeZilla? I do not. Oh, okay. I knew someone was going to ask about the flower crown, and you just did. And I have a flower crown. It was hiding under the desk, just ready for someone to ask about it. Okay, goodbye. I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Happy hacking. Happy Thursday. Peace.